Hi, everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today, I'm talking about the movie Elvis. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. So, Elvis is a movie about the life of Elvis Presley. It's told mostly through the lens of Colonel Tom Parker, played by Tom Hanks. As far as what I liked about the movie, overall, I think most of the performances were really good. Austin Butler did a great job as Elvis. I can definitely see him, being a huge household name after this and going on to a lot of success afterward. Olivia DeJonge, I don't know how to say it, as Priscilla was also really good. It was funny, I was watching it trying to figure out where I knew her from. She is the little girl from The Visit, the M. Night Shyamalan movie where they go visit their grandparents. She was really good in this. There was a lot of other people who got to play these very famous characters like B.B. King, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and that was Kelvin Harrison Jr. played B.B. King, did a great job as B.B. King. He was sort of Elvis's, one of his good friends early on and stuff. And I really liked their friendship and the way that they kind of worked together. Let's see, Yola was the name of the woman who played Sister Rosetta Tharpe. She was also very good and did some great singing in there. Alton Mason as Little Richard was a highlight for me as well. I'm a big Little Richard fan. I would love to see a Little Richard biopic. And then Shanka Dukure plays Big Mama Thornton. And again, really good performance from her, really good singing. I'm not sure if I believe the women were singing. They seemed like they were. They looked like they were. I don't know if Alton Mason was exactly. I'm not sure. As far as Austin Butler, from what I understand, he is really singing, at least in the early stages of Elvis' career and the kind of earlier songs. And then I think toward the end, they kind of blended his voice a little bit, which is same sort of thing they did in Bohemian Rhapsody. And probably Rocket Man, it seems like it's kind of becoming more the standard for these kind of movies. I did enjoy, as far as the music goes, some of the kind of more deep cuts or the less popular Elvis songs. Hearing Elvis when he was first starting out playing these songs that are not as famous or as popular as kind of his bigger hits was really cool. And I actually really forgot how much I like some of Elvis's songs. The problem with, something like Heartbreak Hotel or Jailhouse Rock is that they're great songs. They really are. It's just I've heard them thousands of times, at this point. So it's nice to hear a song, like, I don't know, That's All Right, Mama, which isn't that obscure, but still not something that I've heard as much, I do really think that the movie does a good job of showing the significance of Elvis and the meaning of his legacy. I was a little too young for Elvis. I think it's kind of the thing that my parents' generation was more into. I had a friend whose mom was a big Elvis fan. She had a big Elvis painting, in their living room and stuff. I think my mom was a fairly, a decent Elvis fan. She always said she didn't like him after he joined the military, though. I don't know. She said he changed. Yeah, so I think for anyone who really likes Elvis, you're going to like this movie. It's got a lot of Elvis in there. It seems to be mostly true and doesn't really pull its punches too much. They talk about his drug use and stuff like that. They even sort of go into the relationship he has with his mother, which was a weird relationship. I feel like in some ways Elvis's relationship with his mother was sort of like like emotionally incestuous, I think, to the point where he definitely seemed to have some issues with his mother and issues with women. Priscilla mentions how he doesn't want to sleep with her after she had kids. I've heard that before, and it seems like, from what I've heard, the interpretation was that, because she was now a mother and, because he respected his mother, he couldn't think of her in that way or something like that. I don't know. But I do like that they sort of did get into the weirdness of the relationship he had with his mom. And I do think the movie really does showcase how good his songs are. It's the kind of movie you watch it and immediately I watched it on Friday. It's Sunday now. I want to listen to more Elvis songs. I actually haven't, surprisingly. But yeah, I'm surprised. They've been playing in my head. I've been singing them and stuff. So yeah, good stuff. As far as what I disliked about the movie, though, yeah, Tom Hanks' accent is not great. Colonel Tom Parker had a bit of an odd accent, and to be fair, I haven't sat and watched a lot of his tapes or listened to a lot of his audio, but yeah, I believe he was Dutch. Is that right? I think he was Dutch, and so yeah, and he also lived in the South for a while, so I'm sure he had sort of an odd accent. But Hank's accent is kind of all over the place. Sometimes it's sort of subtle and kind of nuanced, and sometimes it's over the top ridiculous. Sometimes it sounds more German or Swedish than Dutch. Often it's just sort of weird and distracting. I did kind of get used to it. It didn't bother me too much, but it was an odd choice. I also think that telling the story through the lens of Tom Parker is interesting. But when you have your main character or your protagonist is such a jerk, it's kind of hard to empathize with him or care about him. So yeah, and then also casting Tom Hanks, of course, is a big star. But it would have been nice to maybe get somebody who could pull off the accent a little bit better. I remember, I'm trying to think who else could have done this. Philip Seymour Hoffman, if he were still alive, I think could have maybe done a good job of this. I don't know a lot of Dutch actors. I'm sure there's some out there, but maybe somebody like Stellan Skarsgård or somebody who's I think Swedish could do it a little more convincingly. I don't know. Or could just do a Swedish accent and I'd be like, yeah, that's what Dutch sounds like. I don't know the difference. So yeah, I think that if they wanted to tell the story of Elvis through somebody else's eyes, it would have been really interesting to do it through like his mom's eyes or even through Priscilla's eyes. I think the story of, this young girl whose dad is in the Air Force in Germany, I think, and, dating the most famous person in the world is an interesting story. And sort of hearing, I wish I would have seen more of the mom, and I wish I would have seen more of Priscilla in this movie as well. Other than that, yeah, Austin Butler, great performance, really good job. He's got the voice down. It's maybe a little bit of a parody, but it's pretty good. I like it. It's got the resonance, the kind of deepness to it, but he doesn't really look like Elvis. Again, you're watching the movie and you kind of forget about that, like Walk the Line. Joaquin Phoenix doesn't really look like Johnny Cash, but yeah, the guy doesn't look like Elvis very much. I will say that much. He's got dark hair. He's got the haircut and the mutton chops, but other than that, yeah, they could have found someone. His performance is great, but he just doesn't look that much like Elvis. The movie is too long. It's almost 3 hours. I think 2 hours, 48 minutes or something like that. And it feels like it is a very, very long movie. It did not need to be as long as it was. It's very self-indulgent, and there's a lot of very long kind of lingering shots and over the top kind of theatrics that I don't think really needed to be there. I really didn't like the opening of this movie. They do this thing where they're kind of showing these billboards, but they're showing it from this weird low angle, and it actually kind of like bothered me. Like I usually don't get any kind of motion sickness or anything like that, but I think it did legitimately make my stomach feel queasy. Just these weird angles they had on the billboards that they were kind of using at the beginning, and the whole opening performance that the movie starts off with is good. It's a good job. But it does take a little too long. They spend a little bit too much time on it. I think the movie is very much a good example of style over substance. It looks great. It's very flashy. There's a lot going on. There's some very interesting kind of shots, but I don't know. It feels like, yeah, much like Guy Ritchie or some of these other directors, it seems like they're really about the flash, and sizzle as opposed to the steak itself. Like I said, I would have liked to see more Mother. I would have liked to see more Priscilla. And then the other thing is, like I mentioned before, she was, her dad was in the Air Force and she was in Germany. And, when you're watching the movie and there's this sort of kiss between him and her, between the two of them, and it's weird to watch. It's awkward for me to watch because he's a grown adult and she's a child. The movie doesn't exactly gloss over this, but it doesn't really acknowledge it either. She kind of mentions like, oh, our parents don't like us hanging out in my room all alone. They want to know about this picture with you and Natalie Wood. And I'm like, maybe they're concerned because of the age difference. And at first I'm thinking, hey, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe she's 17, he's 19. It's not that bad, but so I looked it up and yeah, she was 14 at the time. And Elvis Presley was 22 years old, 8 years older than her. She was a child, underage by any standard, even German standards, I believe. And by any moral standard that any sane human being has. This is the guy who was the most famous person, probably the most famous person in the world at the time, or one of them for sure, could have dated any woman he wanted to, and he decided he wanted to date a 14-year-old girl. At least it wasn't his cousin, Jerry Lee Lewis. But anyway, so yeah, that's creepy. That's weird. It's hard to deal with. Not much you can do about it. The guy was a creep. People look up to him and they idolize this guy. Some people love him, and I don't. He's a talented performer for sure, but not a good person by any means. Also, he didn't write. I think he may have co-writing credit on a couple songs, but he didn't really write any songs. Now, he ended up getting credit on some songs because of the deal they had, where like he wanted to cover "I Will Always Love You" by Dolly Parton, and the only way he could do it is if he got half of the songwriting credits for it. And Dolly Parton was like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I wrote this song, not you." So yeah, that kind of bothers me too. Is some people don't seem to know this. Some people don't seem to realize that that Elvis didn't really write songs, and even in the movie, they seem to make it seem like he wrote that sort of protest song he does at the Christmas special. And as far as I can tell, he did not write that song. So what are they doing here? I do like, though, the fact that they acknowledge the fact that, you know, he got a lot of his influence from Black musicians at the time. And again, there's some people I know who are, you know, my age or even older who don't realize that Elvis didn't write any songs and mostly just covered Black people songs. And, you know, there are some people who fight me when I try to explain that, like, you know, rock and roll was invented by Black people and white people co-opted it and stole it and made it, you know, maybe we're more successful with it, but that's because they didn't really play Black people on the radio back then. So yeah, that was cool. I like that much. And I like seeing, you know, all of the, you know, kind of classic acts like that. Other than that, the movie is directed by Baz Luhrmann. Baz Luhrmann is probably most famous for Moulin Rouge, I guess, and the Romeo plus Juliet movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. He also did The Great Gatsby a few years ago with DiCaprio again and what's his name, Tobey Maguire. It was written by Baz Luhrmann as well as Sam Bromell, who this was, I believe, his first writing credit for a movie. But he did work on The Get Down, which is the TV show that I believe Baz Luhrmann did, that I never watched, but I've heard good things about. And he was a script assistant on Gatsby, and he wrote a bunch of shorts. But he has worked with Luhrmann before, so that does make sense. And then the other writer is Craig Pearce, who, again, works a lot of stuff with Baz Luhrmann, almost everything, I think, that he's done. He also, though, was the creator of the Pistol TV show about the Sex Pistols that I've not seen, and I've heard mixed things about. And the TV show Will, which was about William Shakespeare, I feel like I may have watched one episode of that, but I didn't really like it. It was kind of cheesy. And he's working on the upcoming Power of the Dark Crystal, which I believe is a sequel to the Dark Crystal movie. Yeah. Other than that, I guess there's another writer here too. Jeremy Doner is the other writer listed. He's worked on TV shows like Damages and The Killing. Like I said, they did kind of a thing where they blended Austin Butler's voice with Elvis's voice. I think it's pretty good and works out pretty well. You know, the performance they do, especially at the end there, is really great. And at some point they start actually cutting in actual clips of Elvis and pictures of Elvis. And that's, again, when you kind of see like, oh yeah, he doesn't actually look that much like him. You know, it's like when you watch like Blow or some kind of a biopic where they show the real person next to the actor and you're like, oh yeah. Or, you know, Richie Valens in La Bamba. It's not that bad. He does look a bit like Elvis. I think if I saw that, it's, oh, that's supposed to be Elvis, but not an exact match. So yeah, other than that, oh yeah, they had some new music in here too. Which is a Baz Luhrmann thing, kind of. He did it with Moulin Rouge for sure. And I was going to say he kind of did it with Romeo and Juliet, but I think that was set in contemporary times, so maybe not so much. But yeah, there's a couple scenes where, you know, he'll be like walking through whatever the neighborhood or the town, and they'll throw on some kind of a contemporary song, like a rap song or something. I feel like I read some of the people who are credited. I don't remember. There are people whose music I don't listen to. I think Doja Cat, people like that. I don't know. It was a little weird. I mean, not completely terrible, didn't completely take me out of the movie. Almost like, I guess, A Knight's Tale kind of does that too, where they use like Queen and David Bowie. But yeah, sort of an odd choice. Something that I'm not surprised that Luhrmann did, but I guess I didn't understand the point of it, and I didn't really like most of the. I liked some of the songs actually, but most of them I didn't care for too much, and I didn't think they added much to the film. So yeah, other than that, I think my overall score for this movie is going to be a 7 out of 10. I think it's a fine movie. It's a little too long. Hank's performance is kind of cartoonish, but if you're a fan of Elvis, I think you'll really like it, and it's definitely worth watching. You know, maybe watch it at home, maybe fast forward over it. But if you saw it, let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you here again next week.